Our top story, Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan's double speak about peace talks with India has been exposed. Now, Pakistan Minister for Religious Affairs Noor-ul-Haq Qadri, while sharing the stage with the global terrorist Hafiz Saeed, has spewed venom against India. The minister has accused India of choosing the path of war over dialogue with Pakistan. Hafiz Saeed was the chief guest of the event, which was held in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. Hafiz Saeed is also the mastermind member of the 26/11 terror attacks in Mumbai.
पाकिस्तान का अव्वलीन एजेंडा अमन है, सलामती है और तमाम हसास और मुतनाज़ा मामलात पर मुज़ाकरात है और हमेशा मुज़ाकरात से फ़रार का रास्ता हिंदुस्तान ने अपनाया है.
And while the Indian Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman issued a strong statement, she reiterated that terrorism and talks can't go together and Pakistan has failed to act against any terror groups.
पाकिस्तान पहले जितनी भी हमारी तरफ से उनको लगातार फैक्स डॉसियर्स के रूप में हम दे रहे हैं, उसका सही कन्विंसिंग जवाब देना चाहिए. जिन जिन लोगों को यूएन भी और भारत देश में भी टेररिस्ट माना जाता है, टेररिस्ट, उनके ऊपर क्या कार्रवाई पाकिस्तान ने किया? आज तक हफीज सैयद, जिनको यूएन भी टेररिस्ट का लिस्ट में डाल रखे हैं, उनको आराम से घूमने के लिए और उनके अपने एक्टिविटीज, एनजीओ हो, कुछ हो, वो करने के लिए पूरे फ्रीडम पाकिस्तान ने दे रखे हैं.
Alright, since Imran Khan took over as the new Pakistan Prime Minister, Islamabad has made a strong pitch for dialogue with New Delhi, but Pakistan's continued support for terror has ensured India has said a clear no. During the UN speech, Indian Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj called out Pakistan over its sponsorship of cross-border terrorism. Sushma Swaraj also justified India's decision to call off the meeting with her Pakistani counterpart.
आज आतंकवाद का राक्षस कहीं धीमी गति से तो कहीं तेज गति से विश्व के हर देश तक जा पहुंचा है. भारत तो कई दशकों से इसका दंश भोग रहा है और हमारा दुर्भाग्य है कि हमारे यहाँ आतंकवाद की चुनौती कहीं दूर देश से नहीं बल्कि सीमा पार अपने पड़ोसी देश से ही आई है. और वो देश केवल आतंकवाद फैलाने में ही माहिर नहीं है बल्कि अपने किए हुए को नकारने में भी उसने महारत हासिल कर ली है.
All right, and joining us for more on this is Anas Malik, my colleague from Islamabad, and he will take us through what exactly is happening. And Anas, you know, we saw multiple rallies by Hafiz Saeed in Lahore during the elections, and that seemed outrageous. And now, of course, he's sharing stage in Islamabad with a Pakistan minister. How bad can it really get?
Absolutely, Bhairavi. It is as laughable as it gets as it exposes the duplicity of the Pakistani establishment and the deep state. Primarily because on one end, the Pakistani side says that it wants to take concrete actions against the terror outfits present in Pakistan, whereas on the other end, organizations like Hafiz Saeed and individuals like Hafiz Saeed, they move on pretty freely. And now we saw Noor-ul-Haq Qadri, the religious minister, yesterday sharing the stage with Hafiz Saeed, the globally recognized terrorist who's here in Islamabad roaming free. They held a rally, they held a seminar conference here in Islamabad yesterday against the statements of the Indian Army Chief, and where Noor-ul-Haq Qadri, the religious minister from PTI, he was present over there. Now that completely goes on to expose the duplicit policies that the Pakistani deep state and the new Pakistani government have been taking. The fact that they're on one end they're talking about talks with India, and the other end the farcical claims of having peace with India, but yet on the other end there are people and terrorist sympathizers who are there. So it clearly goes on to expose the duplicity of the Imran Khan administration and the Pakistani deep state as well. Yes, Bhairavi.
Well, the latest now on a Pakistan chopper that violated Indian airspace in Jammu and Kashmir, and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's Prime Minister, that is Haider Khan, in an interview to Dawn News in Pakistan, has said said that the chopper did not violate Indian airspace at all. Haider Khan was in the chopper with two other ministers when the helicopter crossed into Indian airspace in the Poonch sector of Jammu and Kashmir. Haider Khan told Dawn News that the chopper was very close to the line of control but within Pakistani airspace. Haider Khan added that the Pakistani side did not feel there was any need to inform the Indian authorities about the flight as it was a civilian helicopter and not a military one. Now, the Indian Army, however, maintains that the chopper did violate the line of control and was fired upon by the Indian troops using small arms. Sources tell WION that yesterday, when the radar in Patni detected the violation, forward bases in Srinagar, in Pathankot and in Udhampur were in fact alerted. Also, that two fighter aircrafts were airborne to intercept the Pakistani aircraft, and the chopper hovered over the Karmara area nearly 8 kilometers from Poonch town around 12:15 p.m. This is a violation of the agreement between India and Pakistan that no helicopter can come within 1 kilometer of the Indian airspace. Remember, it was not just the POK Prime Minister but also the Education Minister and Tourism Minister on board as well, this chopper. Indonesia, it's a desperate search for survivors. Dozens of troops have left for the rescue missions and efforts countrywide. Now, this earthquake and tsunami hit several areas, and Indonesia's disaster agency says the death toll from the massive earthquake and tsunami has increased to 844, and nearly 50,000 people have been displaced by the disaster as well. The Indonesian government has now called for international help as hundreds remain missing as well. And well, on your screens, you can see the trail of destruction caused by the massive quake-triggered tsunami. Dozens of people were reported to be trapped in the rubble, at least of 2 hotels and a mall in Palu, which was hit by the waves as high as 20 feet. The Indonesian President Joko Widodo also, in fact, visited the disaster-hit city of Palu, where he met the locals as well.
Sama seperti di Lombok itu ada tahapan-tahapan. Sehari 2 hari ya memang berat. Ya memang berat. Karena yang pertama di sini jalan menuju ke sini juga banyak yang terputus. Bandara juga belum berfungsi. Listrik dari 7 gardu yang hidup baru 2, yang 5 belum hidup. BBM nggak bisa menuju ke sini karena memang terhambat oleh jalan-jalan yang terputus.
All right, and Aaron Cook now, a journalist from Jakarta, is now joining us for the very latest. Aaron, thanks very much for joining us this evening. Now, how are the rescue efforts actually at the moment? How many people has the army and, you know, the security personnel they've managed to reach to, considering the fact that we are hearing that at least 50,000 people are displaced and several hundreds are at risk of not being rescued so far?
That's the big story here. It's been very, very difficult for rescuers to even get into a lot of these villages. The full scope of what we're looking at is still unknown at this stage, even 3 days after the initial quake. We still have a lot of problems with communications. We are hearing that most of the response is at this stage about getting fresh water and food and emergency tents out to the survivors, as well as medication, of course. But at this stage, it's still very much a matter of picking through the rubble and trying to hope for the best.
Right. And Aaron, of course, the other big news coming out of this tragedy is that the tsunami warning was sent out, lasting just over 30 minutes, but it appears to have drastically underestimated the scale of the tsunami that would follow. And so what exactly went wrong there?
This is an emerging story. We still don't know too much just yet. From what the agency said so far is the sensors that were in action on Friday night were either too far away or too old and just simply couldn't handle the stress that the tsunami brought with it. But we have heard from experts in the field elsewhere in the world who say that even with the best technology, sometimes things like this are just freaks of nature and there could have been no chance. But once we have a better idea of once the rescue mission's underway and finished off, there will be a bit of a reckoning with the disaster agency, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more investigation into that.
Right. And of course, the worst affected area was Erin Palu. How are people there now? And of course, we do believe that the Indonesian government has also sought international help now.
Yes, Palu, they think is the worst hit, but there is a very high chance that some of the smaller villages, which are still inaccessible, are worse off, even though they're not quite as large as the capital. As far as we know, that there may be some cities that have been entirely wiped out, which is why the Indonesian government has very quickly reached out to friends within the region looking for assistance. It's overwhelming, particularly given the Lombok earthquakes were just 2 months ago as well.
Iran has said its Revolutionary Guards had launched a ballistic missile into eastern Syria, targeting fighters it blamed for a recent attack on a military parade in southwestern Iran. Now, the attack took place at around 2 a.m. local time and targeted the bases of terrorists backed by American and regional powers in eastern Syria, the statement said, adding that several terrorists were killed and injured in the attack. However, it did not give an exact figure. A state TV aired graphics suggested that the missiles landed near the Syrian city of Abu Kamal, which is under the control of forces loyal to the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Remember, at least 24 people, including 12 members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, were killed in an attack on a military parade on the 22nd of September. The Islamic State had claimed responsibility for that attack. And for more on this, I'm joined by our West Asia Bureau Chief, Daniele Bagani, who joins us now from Jordan in Amman, and Amman in Jordan, I beg your pardon. And Daniele, thanks very much for this. Now, what we're picking up is that Al-Bukamal, which is held by forces loyal to the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, is where this attack actually took place. But what exactly and who exactly was the target of the Iranian forces here? Was it Bashar al-Assad's regime, or was it the ISIS?
We are not sure, so we are in the realm of hypothesis, but Abu Kamal is a small town on the border, very close to the Iraqi border. That's one of the operative bases where the Islamic State has had military posts and still holds control of some pockets in and around Abu Kamal. So if I have to go by this assumption, it means that it was the Islamic State the target of these Iranian-made short-range surface-to-surface ballistic missiles, even though we are not sure. But at the time when the attack against the military parade took place, remember that the Islamic State claimed responsibility along with a group of Arab separatists which are active within Iran. So if I have to go by exclusion, I think that the Islamic State was definitely the target of the Iranian missiles.
Right, and also, Daniele, has the Syrian state, really reacted to what's happened, these missile attacks, anything that you're picking up from the establishment there, and what really this means for regional politics in the area?
If the Islamic State was truly the target of the Iranian military, obviously the Syrian military wouldn't have any option and nothing against it, because first of all, the two countries are allied in the war against the Islamic State and in the war against many of the rebel groups who took up weapons against the president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad. The Syrian television is reporting the event, but there are no official statements as of now coming directly from the Syrian government.